Well, it's never dull in Ramapo, and a judge has ruled that voting machines there must be impounded after a vote to restructure. The town board went haywire this week. Residents cast their ballots on a measure that would switch to a ward system and replace its 4 town-wide seats with representatives from 6 districts. Voters say that on election day they received calls from someone who said they were with the Board of Elections and that the person told them to vote against the measure. On election day, some people were turned away from the polls because poll workers didn't realize that everyone, even unregistered voters, could in fact cast their ballots. Mr. Vanderhoff, what the heck is going on in Ramapo?
I wish I knew. And of course, the county executive now has called for an investigation by the district attorney on those calls and other things. But you know, I have to say, there was confusion about this ballot measure from the very get-go. People didn't know where the wards were. They didn't understand how the 2 of them connected. And so from the very beginning, this, from my perspective as an outsider, didn't look like it was well done. And of course, when you have that kind of confusion and when people are trying to cast votes, that's a very serious issue. Well,
remind everybody at home what they were voting for and what happens next.
Well, currently in the town of Ramapo, all of the council members are voted by the town entirely. The town of Ramapo is probably one of the most diverse towns in the state of New York, maybe the nation. Large Orthodox, large Hasidic, large Haitian. And so what they were trying to do is say, okay, well, maybe we'll look at wards or different areas so that people can be represented by a council person as opposed to town-wide. So that was one piece of it. And the second piece was to increase the numbers from 5 to, I think it was 8, to allow more people to be represented on it. And both measures have some, and it goes back and forth, both measures have some, I think, support. And certainly a lot of folks who believe that the Hasidic community controls too much felt that perhaps it should be in that system. But a lot of folks, particularly of color, felt that it was discriminatory because we didn't know how they were going to be divided up, and we're not sure that our communities would be properly represented. So you got a real a confluence of different arguments about it, and most people predicted it would fail. Now nobody knows at this stage, but that's it.
Is there a revote? How's it going to work?
I don't know what they do, and of course, if they're fooling around with, you know, it could be a whole different ball game in terms of the results.
Look, I don't know about the dynamics of what happened in this particular vote, but this compounds what's been a growing problem in Ramapo, both in the town and the school district, where it's just there's a sense of shenanigans going on. Shenanigans with the electoral process, shenanigans with the governing process. People are going to start to lose trust in the system. That's
obviously
never
shenanigans with the school funding, where we got into this whole mess to begin with.
That's never a good sign.
All right, now, Bill Bratton Dominic, obviously the police commissioner in New York City, is vowing to crack down on the members of his own force. He addressing 800 NYPD commanders Thursday morning, saying that he's going to remove any officers that abuse their authority. Commissioner said that 99% of the officers are good, but the other 1% that are brutal, corrupt, racist. His quote here, poisoning the well.
The reality is at this moment that there's some in the organization who shouldn't be here. They're not the right fit for the NYPD in 2014.
Is this just, hey, they all say it, or is there something different? Obviously, we're coming into the aftermath of the Staten Island incident and a few other incidents as well. There's been a lot of pressure put on the police commissioner, and kind of that's part of the campaign that Bill de Blasio ran on. Just a soundbite or something more from Bratton?
No, it's not just a soundbite. Mr. Bratton, and there are many that would say bravo to the police commissioner. He's not playing. This is a police commissioner who's on the job the second time around. He's a national expert, having served the NYPD, the LAPD, Boston PD, the architect of broken windows with Maples and all those guys, Jack Maple and so on, and John Timoney. So they know he has the full support of the mayor. And it's about time, frankly, that the commissioner is doing this.
Okay, what does the PBA say, though?
It doesn't matter what the PBA says, because you know what they're going to say. Officers are, which is true, they're entitled to be protected just like anybody else, and we're always going to back the officers. You expect them to say that. But the commissioner is putting officers, because he's right. 99.9% of the police do an excellent job protecting us each and every day. It's these few rogue officers, these cowboys, that get a badge and a gun and think they can do whatever they want. Bratton sending a message. And he also, not only did he speak to them, he showed a videotape of many of these incidents with the officers. And Bratton is clearly saying, you screw up, I'm going to fire you, period.
Andrew, investigators in New York City have now opened an inquiry into Rachel Nordlinger. Now, if you don't remember, she is the chief of staff to Mayor Bill de Blasio's wife, Charlene McCray, who's not a titular first lady here. She's a very involved member of the de Blasio administration. Now, Ms. Nordlinger, who you see on the screen, will be investigated surrounding her boyfriend and her failure to tell authorities during her background check that her live-in boyfriend is a convicted felon who's also made many derogatory comments about the police. Also now some comments also attributed to her son as well. You can look at this a couple different ways here. It's the same story, just a different angle, but it seems the pressure's mounting here. The people want her out.
And I think it'll be interesting to hear what comes out of Gracie Mansion in terms of defending her and if she's defended by the First Lady in the coming days. The investigation certainly would give them the leverage, or at least the it would be the mechanism by which they could push her out or force her out if they wanted to in the coming days. It's going to be interesting because keep in mind, we had Liz Smith, who was the campaign spokesman for Bill de Blasio during the campaign. All of a sudden, during the interim period,
who was going to be his press secretary,
right? And then the interim, after the election, before the inauguration, came word that she was involved with Eliot Spitzer, and she went away pretty quickly. It's going to be interesting to see how much the de Blasio administration worries about this, and it'll also be an indication of just how much power the First Lady of New York has.
Do you think de Blasio wants this? Do you think he said good because now this gives me the cover to get rid of her?
No, the mayor is in a pickle. Rachel Nordlinger, who is a very good person, full disclosure, I've known her for years. She's a good friend. I've known her for about 20 years. Rachel Nordlinger, her protector is the Reverend Al Sharpton. She was his communications director. If the mayor gets rid of her, he's got a problem with Sharpton.
Please, the Reverend's cut people loose in less than that.
No,
Bill Thompson.
But not, yeah, you're right about that. You are right about that. But he has been with, Rachel has been with Sharpton for many, many years. She left Sharpton to go work for the mayor. There have been a lot of mistakes made with this situation, but I really think the press is piling on. You can look at anybody at their life.
But there are ways de Blasio could make a move on Nordlinger if he wanted to and still keep Sharpton in his corner. It's just it would be a conversation that he'd have to have with Sharpton. It's not outside the realm of possibility.
I just don't see that happening.
There's another perspective here too. I mean, how far do you go in somebody's association with somebody, who is not married and not? I mean, it's a slippery slope here. We all have private lives, and I'm not suggesting anybody's right or wrong in terms of what he may have done or said, but there's a very slippery slope about who you associate with and whether in fact it's tolerable or not as in an appointed position, aside and beyond all the
fair enough
points.
And maybe this isn't about what's fair or what's not, but when there's the amount of baggage that this boyfriend or whatever and now others may be bringing to the table, if you're the mayor, do you really need this headache after a while? You're right, there's a political calculation. It's more than just, he's got to look at Reverend Sharpton, he's also got to look at the NYPD, he's got to look at a few other things here. It's not so simple.
But forget the NYPD, he's got to look at his wife. And his wife is a black woman just like Rachel Nordlinger.
And she has authority.
And she has authority. And this is not a regular wife. This is a wife with a lot of power.
It always comes down to the wife. All right. Well, this is a favorite of Andrew's and I when we come back. Jed Bartlett turns 15. Yes, I'm talking about the West Wing and its beloved president, celebrating a big anniversary. But to all the feel-good fake presidents we see in movies as well as TV, make the job of our real presidents that much harder. Don't laugh. There might be some merit to this. Stay with us.